Hey guys, it is now May in the flower garden and so much has changed that I thought I would take you guys on a little tour to give you an update of how things are doing and what has happened so far. Let's go! For anyone who doesn't know, my name is Peggy and I am growing a cut flower garden here on my allotment in Kanagawa Prefecture, Japan, which is just south of Tokyo in USA Zone 9B. Thanks for checking out my channel. It's a bit windy today, I apologise. So yeah, you might see that the garden is looking like it doesn't have very many flowers in it, but don't worry, that's because I came down yesterday and cut them all. I got huge big buckets yesterday and so everything has just been cut back. But I feel like I should be doing a spring review. This is what I thought of my spring flowers this year and I can't, and it's really weird. I want to do it because my tulip have pretty much gone, my ranunculus and anemone are pretty much gone, but my stock hasn't even started yet. It's over the shoulder. My stock hasn't even started yet, and my Snapdragon, which were one of my earliest last year and I decided to grow only as a spring flower this year, aren't. Now both of those were some of the seeds that I had problems with. They stalled, I think because of the potting mix I used. They stalled and it took me a little bit of a time to realise that that's what was going on before I could start to fix them. So I'll update you and you can see that they are actually doing really well considering how small they were when they went in, but still nowhere near flowering. And then I've got some surprise things like my achilia and my cornflour, which is going mad over in that corner. But I filmed some stuff for you yesterday when I was cutting back the flowers so you could actually see what was here. But yeah, I'll give you a tour so you can check it out. Okay, so here in my very first part of the garden is where I've had all of my tulips, and you can see I've got like one or two left that are still starting to bud. That's mostly my Peggy Wonders, which are always the last to come up. I did cut most of these back yesterday though, so this is my review of them. So I think this might be the last few cuts from my tulips. I've got nearly all of them, and honestly I'm a little disappointed this year, not because the tulips themselves disappointed me. These black ones, oh god, I still love them. They were definitely my favourite again this year. I did have some of the single black ones though. This is the last little one just coming. It's actually a bulb that put up too, so this is just a little one that came off. And I wasn't sure if I would like these single looking ones as much as these ones, and it turned out I did, because even though these ones aren't quite as ruffly, they've not got as many petals, you know, they're not quite as showy. The first set of these that I got were so tall and so big, the heads were so big, and they lasted really well in the vase, and they were such a dark colour that I actually really liked these, to the point where I think I'm going to get more of them for next year. But I really liked these. The reason that I'm feeling a bit disappointed with my tulip is because our weather changed here so quickly that in the space of a week they all came and they all blew out before I could get to them. I can only really come up here at the weekends, and because the weather changed so fast, by the time I got up and realised they were all ready to cut, they'd all gone past that point, which meant I got all of my tulips in 1 week, and by the time I was arranging with them, they didn't last very long in the vase. They were too open. So yeah, I was a little disappointed with how they came, but that was just a weather issue and it's not really something that I can have control over. I do, however, wish that I had so much more room to fill with tulip, because I'm really liking them. They're so pretty. Who could not like them? Look at that. A surprise for me this year as well was that I got these, which is one stem of tulip that has put up 4 different sized heads. And I had them in this purple, and I also had them in the yellow, which came up with the yellow and a splash of red in them, and they're amazing. They fill out a display so well. The only thing is, my ones did flop. Now, I did have them sitting in a bucket for 2 days because it was Easter Sunday and I was Easter bunnying and Easter egg crafting and stuff. So they were a bit neglected and they drooped. Now, tulip are one of those flowers that will look for the sun, they'll search for the sun. So if you leave them sitting somewhere, they are going to bend. Look at the state of my hands. They are going to bend to the direction of the sun. So these are a good one that if you are going to have them sitting for a while to condition, you could wrap them in paper, wrap them in brown paper, or newspaper or something, just to help try and keep the stems straight and make sure that they're somewhere where there isn't a prevailing sunlight coming in, so not near a window, because they will then bend towards the sun and the window and you get droopy stems. But look at these. And as much as I always love my dark tulips, this year there was a new contender for my heart, and that was these. I'm calling them my blood speckled ones, but blood splatter tulip. I don't generally like flowers or more the leaves and the foliage you get that kind of have that variated color where it's different shades of green in it, with the stripes and stuff. It's not really my thing. We use it a lot in ikebana, and I think it just kind of put me off it because it was just all the time. I didn't like it. But these I really like. Now I've got two different types here. I've got this one, and this is actually the first cut I've taken of this, and probably the last. They've all come up at the same time because I didn't have very many bulbs. And this is kind of more of the peony type with the lots of ruffly petals, and I'm really liking that. But this one, which you can't really see because it's not fully open yet, this is more of the tulip kind of ruffly petaled ones. And this is so beautiful when it opens, and absolutely massive. I mean, bigger than the size of my hand. I've got wee hands, but you know, it was a huge, big kind of statement tulip, which I wasn't expecting, and it got more and more beautiful as it opened. So I will definitely be looking for more of these ones, and they just looked really dramatic and gothic next to the black tulip as well. I really loved them. So yeah, I need more of these. And actually the amount that I liked this one has made me think that I might look for some more different type of the parrot tulip to grow next year. I kind of have been leaning towards these peony ones, but I really liked this, and it was just such a big kind of showstopper that I think I might see if there's any others of these that I like. I've also just picked the first of my Peggy Wonder to come up, and weirdly these ones, although they're still super short, they look a little bit longer than last year. But last year I was getting 3 or 4 flowers to one stem, and this year they've all come up as singles. I don't know if just it's because they're second year bulbs, I'm not sure. It's still pretty. They're kind of weird. I mean, honestly, if these weren't Peggy Wonders and my name wasn't Peggy, I probably wouldn't have bought them. They're kind of like little cabbages. But I still like them. Am I like a little cabbage? So yeah, my tulip, I feel like I didn't get as many, and that's just not the case. It's just that they all came at once, so I didn't get as long to appreciate them. Now, if you're pulling tulips up by the bulb and keeping them, you can store them for a really long time on the bulb in a cooler, if you have a cooler. Now, if you're a flower farm or you happen to have a massive cooler for unknown reasons, you can keep your tulip for a long time, and that means that if it does suddenly get hot the way it did here, you can actually stagger when you use your tulip. But obviously that wasn't an option for me. Our fridge is pretty packed anyway. If my kids opened it and found that I'd replaced their yogurt with tulips, they'd be pretty annoyed. So I obviously don't have that option. So it was a little disappointing in that sense, but I still loved what I got, and I was surprised by what I liked, and it will be influencing what I plant next year. But on the other hand, as you can see, my interplanting here worked perfectly. So I put in my tulip bulbs, and in between my rows of tulip, I put my gladiola, forgot what they were. I put my gladiola, and these started coming up earlier than I thought, and I was a bit worried that they would be in competition with each other. But then because the tulip came up so fast in the end when the weather changed, this has worked out really perfectly, and now the tulip can all take their time to die back because I don't lift the bulbs, so I do want the leaves to die back and feed the bulb for next year. So these leaves can take up as much room as they want as they die back, because the gladiola are going to come and get nice and tall. Now, my gladiola, you can see this is quite a windy spot, so I am probably now thinking that I might need to put some kind of support in for these guys, because I don't want them falling over. Gladiola do get big and tall and heavy, so I'm thinking I may need some support netting on here next. But look at that for timing, perfect! So then behind my tulip, I have where I planted my delphinium. I put in quite a lot of delphinium, and I've not had much success with it before. I didn't like the old garden. And although I put in 2 rows, only 2 of them have actually germinated. But those 2 are doing really well. I can see they're starting to get flower buds coming on here, which is great news. This one looks a lot healthier than this one, but the two that survived have done really well, and these are perennials, so I'm hoping that this will then be ones that will come back for me next year, and I still have a little bit of space either to put more tulips next year, which I probably will, or to plant more delphinium if I really like these ones that come. In front of the delphinium I have my fennel, which smells absolutely amazing. Now I planted this to be a foliage plant. Don't think you can see that very well. There we go. Yeah, I planted this to be a foliage plant because it comes up really early. I've already taken some cuttings for this to use as foliage with my anemone and ranunculus and my daffodils. So this is it having been cut a few times. I don't cut from the top, obviously, I'm cutting kind of the side bits. But this came up really early. Again, I planted 2 rows and I've got, is that a separate one? 1, 2, 3, 4 that have survived and done okay. This one looks like it's putting up a whole new centre stalk as well, so I'm hoping that this will do me quite a while, and if I keep cutting it back then it shouldn't go to flower too fast and I should be getting foliage off it for a while yet. It smells so good. In front of that I had some bronze fennel and it's not doing as well. It's not fennel, it's dill. That's dill. Sorry team. The dill did really well. This is bronze fennel. It never really took off the way that the dill did, but it's not giving up yet. I've got this one, I've got another one just starting to come in here, and I've got one there that's refusing to die but just isn't getting any bigger. And it's basically the same foliage and the same texture as the dill, it's just in a much darker, kind of bronzy, dark brown colour, which kind of fits my slightly dark palette that I like. So I'm hoping that this, now that the weather has turned and we're past the cold, this will start to do better. So I need to get this weeded out so that it's not got competition from anything else, and just hope that it gets bigger. But it's not dead. That's all right. And then this is where I put my most recent planting, and that was for my summertime foliage. So I have my Ami, my Mueller grass, which I was calling pink fluff before. It's actually Mueller grass, pink Mueller grass. My Cerinthe and my clary sage. Now, obviously, as you can see, my Cerinthe is doing great, which is great because that's the one I was most excited about. My others, if I look closely, I can see there is a bit of Ami there, and there is some of the Mueller grass coming, so I'm going to leave that. But I'm not seeing much germination for my clary sage, and I still have some of those seeds left, so I am going to plant in some more of that. So back up at the top end of the garden, and this is my Sweet William. Now this is Sweet William that I had growing in my previous allotment, and it had done nothing, but it hadn't died, so I dug it up and I brought it with me and transplanted it to here, and it was doing nothing. Again, it was just sitting, and then just in the last maybe a week and a half it suddenly shot up, and now it's got these kind of fluffy green bits on it and is starting to give me some flower. So I'm happy that that is finally doing something. Again, this is a perennial, so now it's getting itself started. Hopefully it will come back for me every year. The question is, do I actually like it? So the rest of this row is a bit, I'm not really sure yet. This is where I transplanted a lot of my echinacea, my orangium, my scabious, which should all be perennial. This one I think is an echinacea that's coming back. I've got another one down here. And that, the problem with echinacea leaves is they look a lot like dandelion leaves. So they kind of have to reach a certain point before you decide, are you a dandelion or are you an echinacea? As for the scabious, I'm not seeing anything. There are lots of little shoots, but nothing that looks like it might be a plant coming back. Now I was worried about that, so I put down some more scabious seed, and I'm hoping that that's going to germinate. But right now I'm at that weird stage of I don't know if you're a weed or if you are a seed germinating, so I'm just going to leave you and hope for the best. A wee bit further down from that though, and I've got where I had my rudbeckia. Now again, this is all rudbeckia that I transferred from the old allotment, and it died back completely. You can see these are all the old branches from last year. But I am starting to see little bits coming back, which is great. However, I'm also getting what I think is possibly scabious and orangium in here, or echinacea even. So yeah, I don't know if maybe some of the seeds I planted there ended up getting washed down here. This might turn into a big mess of rudbeckia and scabious and echinacea. And I'm hoping if that happens, I will just be able to dig it out and lift it and move it down a bit. And then I have a bush. This is my achilia, and again this was transplanted from my old allotment. It did really well last year, and so I transplanted it hoping it would come back for me this year, and it has. And it's actually flowering really early, you can see. There's lots of buds on it, but on the other side I'm actually starting to get some flowers on it already. It's gone mad. It's huge. So I might, usually you net stuff to help it when it gets tall, but this doesn't really get tall. This is about as tall as it gets, and I'm going to start cutting back on it. So I might just leave it to go mad for a bit and then just cut it hard down this side. Okay, back up at the other end of the garden, and this is where I planted out my Snapdragon. Now, as I said, my Snapdragon stalled this year. So last year, the year before, I'd planted seeds in autumn. They did really well, they got big. I put them out at the beginning of January into the garden, and they came out with all of my spring flowers. I was making arrangements with these guys and ranunculus and my stock and things like that, my tulips. So these guys were really early, and that was great because previously my Snapdragon haven't done very well because they don't like the heat. It just gets so hot here by the middle of June that they weren't really producing very much anymore, with the exception of the Potomac, which I really liked. I had the orange Potomac and they did really well. But the others never really liked how hot it got. And even with my Potomac ones, they stopped producing faster than I thought they would. This year I really wanted to get the Potomac lavender, and I couldn't find any of the seeds in Japan, which broke my heart because I really, really want to try those ones. But anyway, so I tried these ones, but my potting soil, I think, was the problem, and the seeds stalled, and it took me a really long time to realize that that was the problem. I thought it was more weather related because we had a much colder winter this year. We had really weird weather this year. And it took me a really long time to realise that that was what was going on, and to try and fix it, which I did through putting them in the garden very, very quickly and giving them lots of food, lots of compost tea, lots of fertiliser when I planted them in, that kind of stuff. And they have grown, they're doing better, they're looking healthier. Now this year my experiment is to plant them in clumps, and you can see that most of them are in a clump of 2 or 3. Now there were a lot more than that when I put them in, but I have been going through and just pulling out the smaller ones to see which ones are going to grow the fastest, basically leaving the healthiest ones in and giving other ones a bit more space. So that seems to be working well, and they are coming. They're just coming slowly. Now, because I'm doing it this way this year, and I did my pinching experiment next year, I'm not going to pinch them. Now when you pinch your flowers, it does set the flowering time back by 2 to 3 weeks, so I'm not going to do that, which means I should get them 2 to 3 weeks earlier than if I were to pinch them. But these are still definitely going to be a summer crop, which is okay. That's what Snapdragon are really meant to be. Just compared to last year, I'm really surprised. So I'm hoping that next year I can get them started and the seeds won't stall, and I'll be at getting them at springtime instead. I have nothing else planned for this row, so my idea is that once I get the first flush off of these, I will cut them back, keep them going as long as I can, and then just cut them back and try to keep them alive through the summer and hope that they give me an autumn flush. I mean, that's the idea. Sounds great, doesn't it? It does, yeah. Don't know if it'll actually happen, but that's the plan for what I want these to do. But I would really like them to start getting bigger and flowering for me sometime soon. And then this is my cosmos, which I just direct planted a few weeks ago, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not one. There's always one that doesn't come. So all but one of these has germinated and is putting on height and doing really well. So I am really happy at where these guys are, and I'm hoping that they'll grow as fast as the cornflour and the achilia did, and I will very quickly have lots of cosmos to play with. The area after the cosmos was supposed to be poppy. Last year I loved my poppy. I had some amazing grey, I had Iceland poppy, and I had the ripple poppy, and I loved them all. And I wanted to have so much more in the garden, so I gave up a lot more space and I direct seeded them, and they've not really done much. This is what I have, although that is a weed. Get out. This is what I have, and it's just come up really in the last week. This is the ripple, so I'm happy with that. I liked the ripple a lot, so at least I've got some. This is 2 plants that are just growing really close together and starting to bush out. But that, and I've got one, can you see this guy? No, because the cornflower is in the way. I've got one Iceland poppy just coming up all by itself on its lonesome. And that's it. None of the rest really did anything, and I'm not sure why, because this is exactly how I planted them the year before, and they all did really well. So I'm really going to have to look at that. I'm going to have to do some more research and try and figure out what went wrong, because I'm devastated that I don't have my poppy. I really like them. I did my poppy experiment last year with experimenting on vase life and seeing how I could get them to last longer in a vase, because they are quite notorious for having a short vase life, and I find that not to be true if you condition them right. So yeah, I'm really quite upset about this, although I am going to be getting some again later than they came last year. But yeah, I need to look into that. So if you have grown poppies successfully for a few years, please let me know how you do it so that I can do it that way next year. Got some. Oh look, I've just noticed one little head coming. Maybe I will get flowers soon. And then after the poppy, I've got this monster. Look at this! This is my cornflower. Now this is just a mix of cornflower. Last time I grew the black ball cornflower. I'm finding it really hard to say that. The black ball cornflower is what I grew, and I really loved it, but I couldn't find the seed for that this year, so I just had to get a general mix, and it's alright. It's only got this big in the last week. Like, man, this stuff shoots up, and it started to put on flower. But when I came down yesterday, I found this. Yes, I don't know what happened there, but I do know that I need to corral it. So that is what I am going to be doing today, to corral that. And hopefully, as well as keeping that upright and helping it from not falling over or getting sat on by a cat, whichever it was, it means I can pull it back, because actually in front of the cornflower is my nigella. You just can't see it. Look, here's some. And I don't know if it's good. So there's the stuff that's really close to the cornflower that's growing big and tall, and then the stuff that actually has a bit more space down here is a lot shorter. So I don't know if these guys are competing with each other, or if the cornflower is actually giving some support to my nigella. But yeah, I'm hoping that by corralling this I can actually push it back and give this nigella a bit more space. Yeah, I didn't have much luck with nigella before. It's always grown really small for me, so this being taller is making me a lot happy. I'm hoping that's going to go a lot better this year. But I need to go and corral this. Guys, in editing this video together, I've realised that it's going to be really long for me to do it all in one. So I'm going to break it up into 2 parts, and I will stop there for this week and leave you guys with some pictures of all of the beautiful arrangements I made with my tulip this year. If you want to check these out for all of my previous years and everything else that I have made from the garden, you can check out my Instagram. The link to that is below. It's from the Witch's Garden over on Instagram. Also, I've been doing a lot more reels over on Instagram and in my shorts feed here on YouTube. Just if you want to see things in smaller portions, you can check those out instead of watching the full length videos. So they are in my shorts feed on YouTube and over on my Instagram, which again, there's a link to below. If you want to follow along and see more from the garden, please hit the subscribe button below and join us for the whole of the season. And I will see you guys for part 2 next week. Bye.